All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone, as you're tuning in. This is another live recording of the Managing Partners podcast. My name is Kevin Daisy, and I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Array Digital, where we help law firms grow through digital marketing. Today, I have a special guest out of Denver, Colorado, Carrie Slinkard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. Excited to hear more about your story. We got to chat a little bit backstage. Working out some technical issues, which seems to be just, a trend, and all this technology. We're remote, we're doing Zoom. People are, trying cases off Zoom and everything. So always something to deal with, but I appreciate you being resilient, and we got that figured out. So welcome to the show. So let's just jump right in. Really just excited to learn more about you and your story, and we'll find out more about your firm as well. But what made you become an attorney? What was your inspiration? And kind of tell us your story.
Not the most interesting of stories. So I was a history major in college, and I got to my senior year and kind of realized there's not much you can do with a history degree other than maybe become a teacher or something. And that was
Jeopardy. You could do Jeopardy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I didn't want to go into teaching. And so I took the LSAT, and when I was little, I kind of always had visions of me being, walking into a big building with a briefcase, wearing a suit. And so my parents suggested I go to law school. I took the LSAT. I went to law school. Graduated from law school and really had no idea what I wanted to do. My cousin, ironically, had a neighbor. His neighbor was an assistant district attorney out here in Colorado, and so he suggested that I just sit down and meet with his neighbor for coffee, and I did that. That led to an internship at one of our prosecutor's offices out here, and I sort of fell in love with criminal work and started kind of my passion for law, which I didn't have prior to that, and so I'm glad I found it.
Awesome. Everyone's got a different story, and honestly, I like that, because I have a lot of attorneys on here that say I didn't want to be a lawyer, and I have some that are like, my grandma told me I was going to be a lawyer or a doctor, and that's it, done. So I like that. You kind of changed and went a different route, but you found a place that you're passionate about and that you can do good work. So give us a little bit more information. What's the name of your firm, and really what's that specialty that you focus on?
So the name of my firm is called Frontline Law. We opened about 2.5 years ago now. As I mentioned before, I started out at the prosecutor's office. I was there for many years. I left there and I went into private practice. And I did that specifically to help law enforcement officers. I got to be pretty good friends with a bunch of them during my time at the prosecutor's office. And I could kind of see, the way their departments were treating them and how people on the road kind of treated them while they were on duty. And so I left the prosecutor's office to specifically represent and defend law enforcement officers in a variety of different, types of cases. I worked in private practice for a few years. I was a manager at another law firm prior to opening the doors here at Frontline. And then, like I said, about 2.5 years ago, we opened Frontline Law. It was me and 2 other attorneys. I'm the sole owner. But now we've grown. There's 4 lawyers we have here. We're based in Denver, but we take cases for cops all across the state.
Oh, excellent. Okay, awesome. So below on your screen, if you're watching this live or on video on YouTube, on our website address is just below. It's the frontlinelawyers.com. If you're listening, it's the frontlinelawyers.com. Go check that out. Well, sometimes I'm like, I got to spell it because it's weird last names, but in your case, nice and easy. So go check that out. Check out her site. It's an interesting site. It's a really cool site. And if you want to learn more about her firm and connect with anyone there at her firm, please reach out, especially if you're in the Denver area, if you're an attorney, young attorney, law student. I'm sure she'll be growing, which we'll hear more about in a second. My brother is a police officer in SWAT up in the DC area, Washington, DC area. I got two cousins that were police. My grandfather was police commissioner of my town, actually. So I come from
Cool.
I'm not, but they, I got a lot of family that are.
Yeah.
I'm usually running from the cops, so
Yeah.
somehow or other. Just speeding though. So that's awesome. I love, kind of like what your focus is in that niche, and that you saw a need for it. And that kind of came out of working in the position you had before. And then not to mention you kind of started what most people would think was the worst time to start a business, right before COVID hit. So basically about 6 months into your new firm, bam, COVID. So what was that effect on you at all, if there was any positive or negative from a business standpoint, not necessarily from friends or family being sick, but was there any big impact?
It was interesting, actually, and I hate to say this, and of course I don't mean it in a bad way, but I do think the timing of COVID was actually beneficial for us. And I say that because there are a lot of growing pains that come with starting a law firm, right? You have to get your software up and running, figure out how you're going to have your cases set up, your pipeline set up. You got to make sure you have the right staff, good staff. You got to make sure your staff are well trained. And so when I came and started Frontline Law from my prior private practice firm, I kind of knew how they did it, but they did it in a very old school sort of way, where like timekeeping and time entries, we just did it in email, or that was kind of the main way that we were communicating. And so when COVID hit, it gave me an opportunity to sit down with my staff and actually spend a lot more time on the front end, figuring out how we wanted the firm to run and what we wanted to look like once we were up and running. And so, having the time to do that was really good for us. With law enforcement, defense, and representing police officers, it's not like cases just sort of stop and don't come back. It's not really typical to a lot of the way other law firms are run. So to a certain extent, a lot of cases were just put on hold. And then when COVID started kind of being a little more under control, although cases that had been put on hold previously started coming back and started being active again. And so we were able to sort of jump in with both feet. And we had that really solid base. And, when the clients started rolling in and cases started coming in at pretty high pace, we had the good foundation set up already and we were good to go.
That's awesome. That's a good point there, because when you start a business, you don't have time to just go, all right, let's just hang out for a year or so, and figure all this out. Like it's go, even you get one or two things or a couple clients, you're now focused on the business. And so some of those things go to the side, that you can't focus on. I would think too, I've had a lot of firms that have come on here that started within a year or two ago. They started virtual and all the capabilities right at day one, where older firms, even a couple years, 5 years old or more, are trying to change to this new way of doing business. And so I think that's an advantage of the COVID, startups, I would say, that kind of say, hey, man, we got to have Zoom. We got to, have all this, the case software, we got to be able to work from anywhere. So I think, puts you in a good spot versus having tons of commercial space and all these other things that, we're there to say, if you had 100 employees, it's a lot of things to carry around. So
and we had picked out a commercial space and it was in dire need of updating. And so we were going through the contract with our, the commercial real estate people. And so during this COVID process, a lot of us were working remotely, working from home. But that gave us a chance to build out the actual commercial space that we wanted. And the timing really couldn't have been better for us. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, well, the reality is we run businesses.
Yeah.
And we have employees to take care of. We have families to take care of. So yes, COVID, not good for many reasons. But we had growth as well.
Yeah.
We've hired a ton of people during COVID. So we were able to not only employ everyone, but hire more, and they have families, right? And so it is a positive thing. And a lot of firms that I talked to all did very well. I haven't really talked to many firms that are like, we're out of business or business is down. Now, some with like personal injury or auto accidents, that's that all they did. They saw a decrease, but most of them do other practice areas that had an increase. While they're waiting to try some of the cases that were on hold. So, there are some positives, and I always say be positive no matter what. And there's no need to be negative about everything. So, you just got to do what you can. Like you said, when we first got on this call, I said, "How you doing?" You're like, "Oh, still alive." So,
another day above ground is always a good day.
Good day. So, with your practice being a little bit different than others, what do you do to get clients? What works for you, and how's that been? Other than, I know you got relationships. I'm sure that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. It's been interesting. And if there's kind of one thing I've learned through starting a business, it's you never know who's going to remember you, and you never know what good you've done for someone in the past that's going to come back and kind of find you again in the future. When we opened our doors, there were a lot of phone calls and referrals that came to me, ironically, from people I hadn't talked to in years and years and years, and people I never would have imagined would have remembered me either as a prosecutor or while I worked at the other firm. So kind of, I guess, lesson number one is always, be nice to people. And I guess kind of lesson number two is the better work you do for people, obviously referrals come from that. And I would say probably 80% of our client base has come from referrals. Here in Colorado and nationwide, really, there's something called the Fraternal Order of Police. And the FOP actually has a large membership base. And those cops pay into what's called a legal defense fund. And that legal defense fund has a list of approved attorneys who are familiar with law enforcement defense and kind of the types of law that we practice when we're working with police officers and sheriff's deputies on a regular basis. And so getting added to that list of sort of qualified and approved attorneys has also generated a lot of leads for us over the long term. And our relationship with FOP is strong. And they've been great to us.
Awesome. Excellent. So getting in with these organizations, associations, it's great. And same for like my kind of business. It's great to align with groups and be recommended by them, which means you got to do good work.
True. Yeah. So, you wouldn't last long as an approved attorney if you didn't do good work for the cops. That's true.
Yeah. Excellent. So, okay, great. And so I guess really what I'm kind of thinking is like, what's your plans over the next, I guess for like next year, and then what do you kind of see for the next 5 years? Like, what is your real vision, I guess, for growth? Do you have a clear defined vision? Do you, are you kind of playing it, month by month, or, are you like, I want to do this, and that? So again, no wrong answer. Just interested to see like where you're going. You're only 2 years into it. It's a lot to think about, I guess, but what's on the plans?
I don't know that we have a specific kind of business plan on the horizon. We are at a point where we have 4 lawyers here total. I, of course, have the most experience with law enforcement defense out of the 4 of us, but 2 of us are former, I guess 3 of us, if you include me, are all former prosecutors. And then we have a 4th attorney who was a former police officer out on the East Coast for many, many years before he went to law school. And, we've kind of hired them at a staggered pace over the course of the last year, but we're finally at a point where they're trained pretty well. They've seen a bunch of different types of cases. They're able to handle their own caseload without, too much attention from me, which is good. And so we have the client base to support 4 attorney caseloads. And I think, I anticipate referrals and leads coming from them also as they kind of create their little niches within the law enforcement community. And we'll just kind of see where it takes us. Every office in our little space here is full. So I don't know that I'm hiring anyone anytime soon, but if it gets to that point, we'll do that.
Well, so, 4 attorneys in 2 years is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
plus,
well, there's a lot going on in law enforcement.
plus supporting staff. So, based on that, you might be surprised. You'll probably be like,
That's true.
hey, you always get more space.
That's true.
So you gotta do what you gotta do. But that's excellent. So yeah, I mean, a lot of success, I think, and growth in a short amount of time. So
yeah.
So let's see where it goes.
As long as you can keep an eye on the type of service that you're providing and make sure no one's slipping through the cracks, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think with COVID, probably have a little more time to train and have some hands-on experience. If you just building processes and systems, and I think I had an attorney on out of Colorado. Actually, they don't do what you do, of course, but they had a really cool like mentorship program built within their firm. They're like 100 people or something like that, but they said their culture was terrible, like toxic. They were a revolving door for many years, and they finally got a system that works. But they got to the point where they have like attorneys are there. Every attorney mentors other attorneys, younger attorneys, associates, and they kind of have it built in now, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so it's like everyone's there to help each other, and someone's below you, you kind of have almost like not obligation, but if you're part of the team and the culture, then you're naturally gonna, help those others, and that just helps the whole team grow and get better. So
totally agree with that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I really appreciate you sharing. Other than the website, so again, if you're listening, tuning in, thefrontlinelawyers.com, go check it out so you can learn more about Carrie. If someone want to reach out to you, an attorney or someone in the area, what's the best way for them to connect with you directly?
I would say probably calling our main number, 720-282-1266. We also have a Facebook page, just Frontline Law. And then our website too, I think, has all our contact info and a direct email access to our office management staff, who will direct callers or email writers as needed.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Get back to Bill, and you're in Colorado, so at the recording time, it's almost the end of my day. It's almost 5, and for her, it's what, you're 2 hours behind?
Yeah, it's about 2:45 right now.
Yeah, so she's got plenty of day left. She should probably work late. Started her own business.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you much.
Well, Carrie, stay on with me. We'll stop the recording so we can chat just a little bit backstage. Everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have Carrie's episode up on our website soon. It'll also be up on our YouTube channel. She'll be up on our social media. So just look for more from Carrie soon as we get some of this out. It'll also be up on the podcast in the audio version on Apple, Google, Spotify, and every other platform you can think of. So just look for her content coming out soon. And if you need help with your law firm, website, SEO, any kind of marketing, that's what we do. Reach out to me or my team. You can go to our website too, arraylaw.com. And even if you've got questions, we're happy to answer those for you. Carrie, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, everyone else, we will see you soon.